So why do you think that having this show format like this and having all these guest stars come in and just having, Dominique Fishback do her thing was the perfect format to tell the story?
Well, the story is the story takes place over 2.5 years. And because we're dealing with real researched events, we have to connect the dots between
Mm-hmm.
those stories. So that is what we did with this story and with the character of Dre. And I think that's probably why it feels like there is a little bit of a formula that you kind of recognize, but every episode is so different, and
Yeah.
everything she does is so unexpected that everything that you can't get too familiar with this show, which is very purposeful because it
Mm-hmm.
will subvert your expectation again and again, which is what we really, really set out to do.
Yeah. Even in the first episode, I was like, she's not gonna do that. And then she did she does do that. Then I'm like, okay, she's not gonna do that again. And then she does. It definitely keeps you on your toes. Um, so there are many, I feel like I see traces of Atlanta through this show a lot, especially in some types of, like the humor that's in Atlanta. I feel like is embedded a bit through Swarm. So would you say this is like a spiritual cousin to Atlanta or something closer, something farther away? How do you think they're kind of similar and different?
I think they're similar in taste, and I think they're similar in just kind of the tonal shift between what's serious and what's funny. I think those are kind of the only real similarities. And you have obviously people from like myself and Donald and other people from Atlanta that kind of put their kind of artistic, touch on the show.
Mm-hmm.
I think when you look at Atlanta, the kernel of that story is the story between, Al and Ern, two cousins, even though like obviously it morphs into like so many different versions of stories, that is still the root of it. And I think the root of Swarm is the story of these two sisters, right? Like that is the
Mm-hmm.
root of the story. And so I think that that is also a similarity. You have like there's a music component, like the music from Atlanta was the Paperboy music was like original music. The music for this show is very much original music, and so you have like a lot of kind of similarities in that regard. Obviously, Houston and Atlanta are very different, but they're both still kind of Southern Black
Mm-hmm.
cities, and so that to me, I think is also part of the kind of the the familiar language between stories. But Swarm is definitely its own kind of like genre bending, tonally shifting way at looking at the story of, a thriller with this kind of horror edge to it,
Yeah.
from the lens of a Black woman doing a lot of kind of questionable
Mm-hmm.
things.
Yes, yes. And speaking of the music, like I found myself trying to Shazam the songs so many times. I was like, I was like, I need this to be out like now because I need to go with this song. It was so great. It was so great. But I also wanted to touch on something you said about, and I want to ask about the importance of having a Black woman in the series doing these questionable things. I feel like so many times in media, we we don't see Black characters, specifically Black women, that like I feel like a story like this on paper, if it was like um non color coded casting or something like that, then you would say like, oh, this would be a white woman doing this. I think it's something different about the fact that a Black woman can lead a series like this and kind of, like I said, kind of basically do whatever. And Dominique is perfect at doing that. So why do you think that it's so important to have a character in a show like this that is a Black woman?
I think it's important because I think America has gotten a little comfortable with the stories that Black people tell. I think America has gotten a little comfortable with the the way in which they want Black people like myself to present stories to them.
Mm-hmm.
I think part of what I set out to do with this show and what, like, I think Donald really supported was, I really, really want a Black woman to be at the helm of this polarizing story. We are so used to seeing so many white people do questionable things. We're so used to, like, watching shows where we have these kind of anti-hero characters that are like likable sometimes but not
Mm-hmm.
always, and we
Yeah.
champion them and we're rooting for them. And it's like, it's the water cooler moments where everyone's just talking about all of these shows. But like, we wanted to build that for this Black woman, and we wanted to really allow the audience to sit with their thoughts on her being Black. And if it makes you uncomfortable, then why is that? You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, like, we deserve to be able to write whatever story we want to write, and I think that that's what is important to me as a Black woman, to be able to live in that space too, because why not?
Yeah, yeah. And having seen, just the first two episodes, and I know that there's a ton of guest stars that are lined up that are going to pop up into the series, but for me, it's going to be hard to top Paris Jackson in the second episode. I thought that was the most hilarious thing ever. And I just wanted to know, like, when crafting the show, did you have in mind a particular actors or particular, guest spots to have, certain people in mind, or did that just kind of like, come naturally as the story developed and as who was available?
Yeah, we had a few actors in mind. Some people were really big surprises that, came available. But yeah, Paris was something that it was a very genius idea from our casting director, Carmen Cuba. And, Donald is friendly with her, and I've been a fan of hers for a while. And so it just kind of like worked out. But yeah, she killed it. She's so funny. And she really, again, like, all of these actors gave so much to do these roles. And we're just really, really happy and really proud.
Yeah, yeah. I know when it comes out, so many people are going to be tweeting about the Halsey line. Like it's literally going to be so many people are going to be discussing that. Uh, Thank you so so much for chatting with me, Janine. I can't wait to see the rest of the series.
Oh, very nice to meet you.
So, Dominique, first for you, this is something I talked about with Janine as well. Just the fact that we don't really see Black women that get to be in series, behaving like this, doing questionable activity, having questionable motives. But I wanted to know for you, what was it like playing a character like that? But also, was it an aspect of also having sympathy and possibly empathy for the character of Dre as well throughout all of these things that she does?
Yeah, well, I think in school as an actor, you're taught you cannot judge your character. If you start off from a judging perspective, then you're not gonna do a service. You're gonna do disservice to the character because they're not they may be judging themselves, but they still do the actions that they do. So in order to be the actor that I want to be, I had to be a clear enough channel. So I journaled before as myself, and anything that gave me pause, I asked myself questions about it. Was it how I felt about it? Was it society's perception? Why did I have pause about this? In order to identify those things and then move it through me so that I could have fun and play. Because like Janine said, we don't get these opportunities. I watched movies like Monster with Charlize Theron and Boys Don't Cry, Hilary Swank, and even Heath Ledger as the Joker, and being like, wow, I want an opportunity to do that. Can I stretch myself as an artist? And I'm so thankful with for Donald and Janine that they took something that we can identify in our time now, in our culture now, and just gave it a spin and heightened it and made it a psychological thriller. And I'm really excited about that.
And you did it so beautifully. It was even just the part I was able to witness, it was just magical. And even after the first episode we watched together, I was in tears and I knew it happened, but her performance, because I got to see the stuff that we didn't shoot together.
Thank you, girl. Thank you.
Listen, like I feel like I've said this a lot about a lot of shows the past few years when I say like I've never seen anything like this before, but I truly mean that when I say that about Swarm. Like we really have not seen anything like this before. And
in a way, like as we've been sitting here doing these interviews, I think what society has loved about Black Mirror so much is that it takes real life things and what you could take from that, and it heightens it and creates like an alternate universe. And but it has real underlying issues under that, because a lot of times for people to even pay attention to a message that they might not, they have to have shock value. And even just based off the trailer, people think it's about something that it's really not. It's not about a fan base or anything wrong with that. It's about Dre's journey and Marissa's journey with her and their sisterhood bond and the lengths Dre will go to protect her sister no matter what. That's what it's about, mental health and sisterhood. So if you think about it, what I think Janine has done such a great job on, Donald and even Malia Obama and all the other writers, it's almost like it within the Black culture, it's like our own Black Mirror.
Yeah, and that's something I thought about, you know, when watching the series too, because I was like, you know, the first episode, once it gels and you realize what the show is actually doing, it's like, you know, I see it. But thank you both so much for chatting with me, and I can't wait to see the rest of the season, because I also the first two, I need to see the rest, but I can't wait, and thank you so much.